Welcome to Recap World. So what is a monster? Is it something born or something made? This is the central question at the heart of the saga of Dexter Morgan, a man who lived his life on the razor's edge between a forensic analyst and a vigilante serial killer. He is America's favorite monster, a paradox of humanity and darkness. Today we're taking a deep, unfiltered dive into the full story of Dexter Morgan, from his dark origins to his final haunting act. This is the complete plot recap, chronological and without a single wasted word. Get ready to sail into the Gulf Stream of his story, because once we start, there's no turning back. Our journey begins in 90 on, a full 15 years before the original series, when a young Dexter Morgan is just 20 years old and an intern at the Miami Metro Police Department. Even at this age, Dexter feels the pull of a deep-seated urge to kill, an impulse his adoptive father, Harry Morgan, has been trying to channel and control for years. Harry knows the true nature of what he calls Dexter's dark passenger is likely rooted in the horrific childhood trauma of witnessing his own mother's murder. The prequel series shows us how Harry first tried to satisfy Dexter's urges with animal hunting and other diversions, but nothing truly worked. This simmering tension explodes at a graduation party when a young man tries to take advantage of Dexter's sister, Deborah. Dexter intervenes with a brutal display of violence, confessing his true nature to Harry. Afterward, this confession is too much for Harry, triggering a heart attack that lands him in the hospital. While Harry is recovering, Dexter makes a chilling discovery. The nurse treating Harry, a woman named Mary, is a serial killer who has been murdering her patients. Harry, seeing an opportunity to steer Dexter's compulsion toward a righteous path, gives his son permission to kill her. This is the pivotal moment, Dexter's first kill. The act itself is messy and frantic, a stark contrast to the methodical rituals he would later perfect. He disposes of Mary's body in a lake teeming with alligators. The act feels good to him, and he confesses this pleasure to a tearful Harry, who realizes the true horror of his son's nature. It's here that the formal rules are established. The code. Harry's code dictates that Dexter must only kill killers who have slipped through the justice system, and that he must first prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The prequel series continues to fill in the dark gaps of Dexter's early history, showing him slowly refining his craft and learning to be a forensic analyst under the guidance of a young Vince Masuka. We witness him go after a loan shark named Ferrer, then a mob hitman known as Mad Dog. During this time, he's introduced to a sedative, a torphine, which would later become the signature drug he uses to incapacitate his victim. We also see the early days of other Miami Metro characters, including a young Angel Batista and a newly arrived Maria LaGuerta. A key revelation unfolds. The woman Harry was having an affair with, Laura Moser, is revealed to be Dexter and his brother's biological mother. The prequel's narrative is colored by Dexter's retrospective understanding of his life. At this point, he appears to be more of a budding vigilante than the cold, emotionless sociopath he would later become. This portrayal seems to conflict with the disturbingly numb character we meet in the original series, but this is explained by the fact that the prequel is told from the perspective of an older Dexter, who has learned to understand his emotions. His narration in the prequel reflects the nuance he gained later in life, not his true emotional state in 1991, when he was just beginning to grasp the reality of his darkness. And after his formative years, we jump to the original series where we meet Dexter Morgan fully established in his double life, a forensic technician specializing in bloodstain pattern analysis for the Miami Metro Police Department. By day, he's a seemingly normal, if a little awkward, guy. He's in a complicated, non-intimate relationship with Rita, a mother of two who is still recovering from an abusive marriage to her ex-husband. Dexter's relationship with Rita is a perfect cover, allowing him to appear like a normal functioning human being, something he believes he is not. By night, he lives a secret parallel life, tracking and killing heinous murderers who have escaped the justice system. He operates under a strict set of rules, or a code taught to him by his adoptive father, Harry Morgan. This code dictates that he must only kill other killers and must be meticulous in covering his tracks. To conceal his prolific homicides, Dexter wears gloves, uses plastic-wrapped kill rooms, carves up the bodies, and disposes of them in the Atlantic Ocean's Gulf Stream. When Rita's abusive ex, Paul, is released from prison and becomes a problem, Dexter frames him for drug possession, sending him back to jail and out of Rita's life for good. A new serial killer arrives in Miami, and the police department nicknames him the Ice Truck Killer because he drains the victims' bodies of blood and preserves them by being kept chilled. The cases are gruesome, but they fascinate Dexter as he notices the killer's methods are eerily similar to his own. Dexter's adoptive sister, Deborah Morgan, who works in the Vice Squad, aspires to be in the homicide department and becomes heavily involved in the case, her work earning her a promotion. Through her investigation, she starts a relationship with a man named Rudy Cooper, a prosthetics expert. As Dexter and the police get closer to the killer, their hunt brings back disturbing, fragmented memories of Dexter's own past. The mystery of his past is revealed to be far more twisted than he could have imagined. Dexter learns that when he was 3 years old, he witnessed the brutal murder of his biological mother, who was dismembered by criminals with a chainsaw. He was found 2 days later, locked in a shipping container, sitting in a pool of her blood, where he was eventually rescued by Harry Morgan, his adoptive father. Harry had purposely altered the records to prevent Dexter from finding out. The Ice Truck Killer, it turns out, is his long-lost biological brother, Brian Moser, who was also present in that shipping container and shared the traumatic experience. Brian, who was sent to live in a mental institution, reveals himself to be Rudy Cooper and kidnaps Deborah, setting a trap for Dexter to join him in a life of murder, a twisted recreation of their shared trauma. Ultimately, Dexter refuses to embrace his brother's path. He chooses the life his father built for him over the life he was born into, and in a tragic and climactic scene, Dexter kills his own brother, leaving the scene to appear as a suicide. This ends the hunt and severs the direct tie to his origins, but Dexter's secret remains safe. The dark consequences of Dexter's actions finally catch up to him when a Miami Metro dive team training off the coast of Miami discovers his underwater body dump site, exposing dozens of his victims. The public and the media dub the unknown killer the Bay Harbor Butcher, and a massive manhunt is launched, with the FBI and the Miami Metro Homicide Division on the case. Suddenly, Dexter is the subject of the very investigation he works on. The pressure mounts as his colleague, the relentless Sergeant James Dokes, grows increasingly suspicious of Dexter's behavior and mysterious disappearances. Dokes, who has always had a tense relationship with Dexter, secretly begins to follow him, convinced he's hiding something terrible. As the investigation intensifies, Dexter's double life becomes a suffocating trap. He's forced to navigate the police department's investigation of him while simultaneously trying to protect himself from Dokes, who is dangerously close to discovering his secret. Under immense stress, Dexter finds himself unable to kill and, as a cover, attends Narcotics Anonymous meetings. It is there that he develops a relationship with an erratic and manipulative artist named Lila West, who becomes obsessed with him. She becomes a dangerous complication as her erratic behavior and manipulative nature threaten to expose him. The plot culminates in a series of events that lead to Dokes being framed as the Bay Harbor Butcher after he has cornered Dexter and is prepared to turn him in. Dexter, in a moment of desperation, locks Dokes in a cage. In a confrontation with Leela, who has found out his secret, Dokes is killed in an explosion. With the case seemingly solved and the threat gone, Dexter's secret is safe once more. Lila, however, remains a loose end, and Dexter must hunt her down to protect his secret, finally killing her in Paris. The experience has left him more cautious than ever, and he now has an even greater understanding of the stakes involved if he were ever to be caught. This season starts with Dexter accidentally killing a man in a botched murder attempt, leading him to meet Miguel Prado, a charismatic and well-respected assistant district attorney, after Dexter helps Miguel by killing the man he believes is responsible for his brother's death. The two form a bond that goes beyond a normal friendship. Miguel, fascinated by Dexter's abilities, wants in on the vigilante justice, and Dexter sees this as an opportunity to finally have a real friend who understands his darker side. For a time, their partnership is a twisted but effective alliance. Their partnership starts with a shared purpose, but Miguel's desire for bloodlust quickly spirals out of control. He begins to manipulate Dexter and act on his own, killing without the code's moral guidance. Miguel's ego takes over and he starts using his power for personal vendettas, pushing the boundaries of what Dexter is willing to tolerate. At the same time, Miami Metro is hunting a new killer known as the Skinner, who flays his victims alive. The hunt becomes a tense game of cat and mouse for Dexter, as he must now deal with a two-front war, hunting the Skinner while also dealing with his increasingly unstable partner, Miguel. When Miguel's actions become too reckless and he threatens Dexter's secret, the partnership turns into a lethal rivalry, and Dexter is forced to recognize that the only way to protect his secret and his way of life is to kill Miguel, a man who, at one point, he considered a true friend. This season is a stark lesson in the danger of bringing someone too close to his world. The final act of this season is the inevitable showdown between two different kinds of monsters, one guided by a code and one consumed by his own ego. The fourth season finds Dexter trying to balance his secret life with a new reality, being a husband to Rita and a new father to his son Harrison. The juggling act becomes increasingly difficult as he fixates on a new target, Arthur Mitchell, a meticulous serial killer known as the Trinity Killer. Trinity has evaded capture for decades, murdering 3 victims in a ritualistic pattern across the country, seemingly living a normal life in between his killing sprees as a church-going family man. Obsessed with understanding how Mitchell maintains a life of normalcy, Dexter gets dangerously close to him using the alias Kyle Butler. Dexter's hunt becomes a dangerous game of cat and mouse as he infiltrates Mitchell's life, attending family dinners and even accompanying him on a killing trip. All the while, the police, including a retired FBI agent named Frank Lundy, are on the trail. The season builds to a devastating climax as Dexter finally captures Arthur Mitchell. But in his final moments, a twist of fate reveals that Trinity had discovered Dexter's real identity. Dexter returns home believing he has successfully killed his target and protected his family, only to find the unthinkable. Trinity has killed Rita, leaving her dead in a bloody bathtub with their baby son, Harrison, crying on the floor. The perfect life he had been trying to build is shattered in an instant, and the trauma of his past returns to haunt him in a way he never expected. In the wake of Rita's murder, Dexter is consumed by guilt and grief. He blames himself for not being there to save her and is unable to feel the proper emotions of a grieving husband. Rita's kids, Astor and Cody, are sent to live with their grandparents, leaving Dexter to face the traumatic aftermath alone. In his emotional state, he makes a drastic and violent mistake, which leads him to discover a new victim, a young woman named Lumen Pierce. While the police are preoccupied with a series of murders committed by the Santa Muerte killer, Dexter stumbles upon a sanitation worker named Boyd Fowler, who is responsible for the deaths of several women. When Dexter kills Boyd, he discovers that the crime is witnessed by Lumen, whom Boyd had been holding captive. Instead of killing her, Dexter saves her. Lumen, tormented by her experience, tells Dexter that she was attacked by a group of men, not merely Fowler on his own. She reveals that her torturers were part of a larger ring of killers led by a charismatic, motivational speaker, Jordan Chase. Lumen begs Dexter to help her seek revenge on these men, but he initially refuses. After Lumen continues on her own and mistakenly targets the wrong suspect, Dexter teaches her the importance of knowing a person is guilty and agrees to help. The two form an unlikely and deadly alliance, with Dexter teaching her his methods of hunting and killing. As they pick off their targets, a crooked cop named Stan Liddy, who was hired by Dexter's colleague Quinn to investigate him, gets dangerously close to discovering their secret. The season culminates in a tense climax where Lumen and Dexter successfully kill Jordan Chase, but not before Liddy gets a video of them in action, forcing Dexter to kill Liddy as well to protect them both. In the end, with her mission of revenge complete, Lumen tearfully admits that her need to kill has left her and that she must move on, leaving Dexter alone once again with his darkness. This season introduces a new pair of serial killers known as the Doomsday Killers, or DDK. They are a partnership between a respected professor named James Geller and his student Travis Marshall. The DDK commit a series of ritualistic, religiously symbolic murders based on the Book of Revelation, leaving cryptic and gruesome tableau at their crime scenes. The Miami Metro Homicide Department, now led by Deborah, who has been promoted to captain, is tasked with stopping them. Dexter becomes obsessed with the case, hunting the two men with a new sense of purpose. As Dexter gets closer to Travis, he believes that the young man is being manipulated and controlled by the older, more dominant Professor Geller. He attempts to save Travis by killing Geller, but the investigation takes a shocking turn when Dexter discovers that Professor Geller has been dead for 3 years. The man Travis was working with was a figment of his imagination, a creation of his fractured mind. Travis had been performing all of the murders alone, convinced he was doing God's work. The plot reaches its climax when Travis, seeing Dexter as the Beast, kidnaps Dexter's son Harrison to use him as a sacrifice. Dexter manages to rescue Harrison and takes Travis to an abandoned church to kill him. As Dexter plunges a knife into Travis's chest, a horrified Deborah walks into the room, finally discovering Dexter's murderous secret. The season ends with a single gut-wrenching line from Dexter, "Oh God," as he is finally seen for what he is, by the one person he always tried to protect. The plot of this season picks up right where the last one left off. Deborah has witnessed Dexter kill Travis Marshall, and she is forced to confront the truth about her brother. Instead of turning him in, she helps him cover up the murder by setting fire to the church. Dexter's secret is no longer his own, and a new, tense dynamic is created between the two siblings. The season follows two simultaneous, high-stakes plot lines. First, Dexter must contend with Izak Serko, a ruthless Ukrainian mob boss who comes to Miami seeking revenge for one of his men, Viktor Boskov, that Dexter killed. Izak is a professional killer who is a surprisingly formidable opponent, forcing Dexter to be more cunning and careful than ever before. The second and far more dangerous plotline is the investigation led by Captain Maria LaGuerta, who has found a blood slide from the scene of the Bay Harbor butcher case and now has a creeping suspicion that the man responsible might not have been James Dokes. As she digs deeper, she begins to see inconsistencies and slowly connects the evidence to Dexter. Deborah is caught in the middle, trying to protect her brother while also dealing with the moral weight of her newfound knowledge. The plot reaches its breaking point in the final episode. LaGuerta's investigation leads her to confront Dexter, who has set a trap to make it look as if she has framed him. As he is about to kill her to protect his secret, Deborah walks in on the scene. LaGuerta pleads with Deborah to shoot Dexter, but in a tragic twist, Deborah chooses to protect her brother and shoots and kills LaGuerta instead. The season ends with Dexter's secret still intact, but at the cost of his boss's life, and at a price that leaves Deborah broken. The final season of the original series begins 6 months after the events of the season 7 finale. Deborah has quit the police department and is struggling with overwhelming guilt over killing LaGuerta. She abuses drugs and alcohol and is filled with self-loathing, directly blaming Dexter for ruining her life. A new psychiatrist, Dr. Elvine Vogel, enters the scene, claiming she is an expert on psychopaths and revealing that she worked with Harry to create the code that Dexter lives by. She needs Dexter's help to hunt down a new killer, the brain surgeon who removes pieces of his victims' brains. The hunt for the brain surgeon is complex, leading to a series of red herrings and false leads before the killer is revealed to be Vogel's own son, Oliver Saxon. At the same time, Dexter's former love interest, Hannah McKay, reappears, forcing him to choose between a life of exile with her and his loyalty to his sister. Deborah eventually finds a form of peace, reconciling with Dexter and returning to the police force. The final act of the season is a race against time as Dexter tries to kill Saxon while also planning to escape to Argentina with Hannah and his son Harrison. But Saxon proves to be a dangerous foe, and he gets to Deborah first, shooting her and leaving her in a vegetative state. A heartbroken Dexter disconnects Deborah's life support, and finally he captures Saxon and kills him. Having lost the one person who kept his humanity in check, Dexter makes the ultimate choice. He fakes his own death by steering his boat, the Slice of Life, into a hurricane and abandons his son with Hannah. The series concludes with Dexter living a solitary life as a lumberjack in Oregon, a ghost to the world he left behind, truly alone with his darkness. 10 years after faking his death, Dexter Morgan is living a quiet life in the small, snowy town of Iron Lake, New York, under the name Jim Lindsay. He has a new identity, a new relationship with the town's chief of police, Angela Bishop, and for a decade he has successfully suppressed his urges. He is constantly guided and haunted by the imaginary ghost of his deceased sister, Deborah. His self-imposed exile comes to a swift end when he encounters Matt Caldwell, a privileged man who got away with killing 5 people in a boating accident. Matt's arrogance and cruelty reawakens Dexter's dark passenger, leading him to kill again. This moment of weakness is immediately followed by a shocking turn of events. His estranged son, Harrison, who has been in the foster care system since his stepmother Hannah's death, shows up on his doorstep. Dexter is forced to confront the life he abandoned. He quickly discovers that Harrison has a dark passenger of his own, having been born into trauma just as Dexter was. The season follows Dexter as he mentors his son and tries to control his urges while simultaneously engaging in a deadly cat and mouse game with Kurt Caldwell, the town's hidden serial killer, and Matt's grieving father. The climax is a series of escalating betrayals and reveals. Angela Bishop, the town sheriff, discovers Jim Lindsay's true identity as Dexter Morgan. After an encounter with his old colleague, Angel Batista, she finds proof linking Dexter to Matt Caldwell's death and arrests him. Faced with a lifetime in prison, Dexter makes his final fatal mistake. He kills Logan, the town's beloved wrestling coach and a completely innocent man, to escape from his cell. This act shatters Harrison's faith in his father. Harrison realizes that the code was never about justice, but was simply a justification for Dexter's addiction to killing. In a final, heart-wrenching confrontation, Harrison rejects the legacy of violence, taking the rifle Dexter gave him and shooting his father. With his dying breath, Dexter finally accepts his fate, receiving the justice he had long denied himself. Just when fans thought the story of Dexter Morgan was over, a new chapter begins. The series picks up 10 weeks after the events of New Blood. In a miraculous turn of events, Dexter is revived from his near-fatal gunshot wound. Now, he is guided by a new set of ghosts from his past, including the Trinity Killer, Sergeant Dokes, and Harry. His new purpose is singular: to find Harrison, who, believing he killed his father, has fled to New York City. Dexter discovers that Harrison has fully embraced his own dark passenger, killing a sexual predator at his hotel and mimicking Dexter's ritual by dismembering the body into 9 pieces. While a genius NYC detective and a returning Angel Batista investigate, Dexter works covertly to help Harrison cover his tracks. The story also introduces a new villain, Leon Prater, Peter Dinklage, who is the leader of a secret society of serial killers that Dexter tries to infiltrate. Charlie, Uma Thurman, a killer herself, is introduced as a gatekeeper to this society. The final confrontation is a shocking and brutal one. Angel Batista, who had long suspected Dexter was the Bay Harbor Butcher, is captured and strapped to a kill table. Dexter has a choice: join the society by killing Batista or lose everything. He spares Batista's life, but the society's villainous leader, Leon Prater, kills Batista himself. In a final act, Dexter kills Prater, framing him for Batista's family and providing a sense of closure for Batista's family. He also leaves some serial killer files for Detective Claudia Wallace to find, including one on the New York Ripper, which will give her a new case to focus on and effectively take the heat off himself and Harrison. The ending of Resurrection retroactively changes the meaning of New Blood's conclusion. Dexter's death was not the end, but merely a new beginning. The final scene sees him sailing away, just as he did in the original series finale, but this time with a beautifully vetted list of victims from the Serial Killer Society. Dexter has finally stopped fighting his true nature. He is no longer tormented by the ghosts of his past. He is fully embracing his identity as a killer, recognizing that this is who he is. The story of Dexter Morgan is not a journey to find humanity, but a journey of an unrepentant monster. And that's the full, unvarnished story of Dexter Morgan. His is a saga of violence, family, and the eternal struggle between good and evil, told with a razor-sharp edge. And that's it, people. If you found this recap as chilling and engaging as we did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Recap World for more definitive recaps, and let us know in the comments what moment from Dexter's journey shocked you the most.